Squad developer Offworld Industries just dropped the most insane news, and I have never been more excited for the future of Squad. They will be reworking infantry combat from the ground up, focusing specifically on reducing the arcadey lone wolf style that is so prevalent in Squad currently, and replacing it with a more team-oriented experience that punishes a solo playstyle. They specifically cited Project Reality as being the gold standard of teamwork-based combat that they are aiming for, a goal they had during early access but now lost due to design changes of the past. As a Project Reality superfan, this is the most exciting gaming news I've heard in years, and also confirms a lot of issues I've had with Squad that I've been rambling on for years about that are finally being officially acknowledged. Long story short, I was right, get wrecked. So, this is a pretty long post, but I'll begin by highlighting the issues OWI want to address and then go over the solutions they're developing to fix them. Before I jump in, do feel free to drop a like and subscribe if you like the content and want to see more. Alright, let's go. OWI admit that in Squad's current state, there is an emphasis on fast-paced action and solo play, something that seeped into Squad during development due to prevailing shooter trends. While they argue that you can use infantry teamwork during combat to dominate the enemy, they also acknowledge that a single solo flanker can easily decimate an entire squad by themselves due to current mechanics in the game. This is something they say is a drift from their roots and needs to be fixed. I couldn't agree more. To do this, their main focus is a shift towards enhanced teamwork and cooperation, longer and more strategic firefights, and a more approachable experience for new players. Sounds really good, but how are they going to do it? They've highlighted 4 key ways they'll be adjusting gameplay to bring the teamwork dream into reality. These are Suppression, Gunplay, Scopes, and Character Movement. Let's start with Suppression. The aim is to make Suppression a significant aspect of combat, giving more purpose to machine guns and allowing players to shoot at the enemy's general location without a clear view, and make it more difficult for solo players to return accurate fire against squads. With the proposed changes, the new Suppression will blur the distance but keep the foreground navigable, allowing players to seek cover, return fire, or escape. There will be multiple levels of Suppression, with visual effects becoming more severe as Suppression increases. This, most importantly, making counter-suppression about dumping rounds at the shooter rather than returning precise shots. Different weapons such as machine guns and vehicle-mounted weapons will have varying levels of suppression power, with heavier weapons causing more severe suppression. Explosions, including grenades and artillery, will also cause suppression in area of effect. Players in protected turrets and emplacements will have some resistance to suppression. All of these changes, in my eyes, should go to create a system whereby moving as a squad over running solo is highly beneficial, as a solo player cannot hope to overcome the suppression effects of a full squad shooting at them, while also making certain classes and weapons more viable as general suppression weapons, creating a more interesting and realistic combat system that isn't just about kill shots. Now for the gunplay. This is lengthy, but I'll summarize it as best I can. Feel free to check out the details for yourself. The goal is to create longer and more engaging firefights, as well as giving players more time to coordinate with their squad, analyze the situation, and execute plans together. Each weapon is being reworked to have specific strengths and weaknesses that require teamwork to cover. They also want to make the game more accessible for new players without diluting the overall gameplay experience, while simultaneously enhancing the satisfaction of shooting guns. Even if they are not always perfectly accurate, it's certainly ambitious, but how are they going to do it? To begin with, hipfire is becoming point shooting, so your gun will move around on the screen in a cone instead of being stationary and moving your whole body when you move your crosshair. Huge recoil changes. Full auto will be less viable at range and much more situational, and also depend on what gun you have. They'll also be adding a new mechanic called recoil misalignment, whereby recoil will cause the weapon to not just kick upwards, but also as an axis. So effectively, as you fire, your sight will become misaligned, making it harder to land subsequent shots without proper weapon control. They make a point of highlighting how recoil can be controlled, but misalignment cannot. In my eyes, this is essentially Squad's new version of deviation, and a very welcome change. Weapon sway is also being adjusted to use this new misalignment mechanic. In addition, steadying your aim will no longer be instantaneous and instead will take time to steady the weapon. This, combined with changes to ADS speeds, depending on which stance you're in, will help to slow down the combat and make it much less arcadey. With a move to every element of weapon control being entirely animated in-game, your bullet will always go where your gun is pointing, which is a great thing if the other deviation style elements are implemented correctly. Onto scopes. Squad will be moving down the ground branch route of scopes, looking like you're actually looking down an optic, not through a camera. This is another absolutely massive change and will completely switch up how the game is played. Currently, Squad is all about scopes. Having one has all the benefits and no downsides. With picture-in-picture scopes, scoped weapons become much more beneficial for long-range engagements but suffer heavily at close range, taking longer to ADS and giving you very poor visibility for anything outside the scope. This should create a more varied weapon loadout selection within your squad and make you think more carefully about the engagements you take and the movement you make. Speaking of movement, we're into the final section, player movement. OWI want to slow down the pace and overall speed of the game with a new motto: see, think, speak, do. No, you're not listening to a London Tube announcement. This is the future of Squad, where players are given more time to come up with tactics and, most importantly, counterplay to rush strategies, which is literally the only strategy in Squad, as I've been saying for years. To put the changes simply, you're no longer a parkour god. Your stamina control is way more important, you move much slower, stamina regen breaks are advised, and the squad leader should have much more time to keep the squad coordinated and have a better grasp of the battle as a whole. You will no longer be able to vault mid-jump, meaning many walls will now be actual walls and not simply minor inconveniences to your super soldier athleticism.
Incredible work.
Full damage is being increased and leaning is finally being reworked to feel less gamey and hopefully not allow my character to angle themselves fully 45 degrees on a corner. I find all of these changes very exciting, and this news genuinely reinvigorates my feeling of hope for Squad and the future of tactical shooters in general. What do you think? Do these changes fill you with a fresh sense of joy and happiness you haven't felt in a long time? Are you a Project Reality player, finally, thinking Squad may be on the right track? Or is it all a gimmick and Squad simply cannot be saved? Let me know in the comments down below. If you liked the video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. And other than that, all the best, and I hope to see you in the next one.